This is how to Myoko 2. The Myoko is a Tier 7 cruiser, Japanese ship. She's a very good boat in that she does a lot of things quite well. She doesn't really have any serious weaknesses. A few things that you do need to bear in mind while you are driving this ship. But all in all, she's a very rock-solid ship. In this particular battle, this is the neighbor's map, which is pretty much open ocean with a few places to hide in the middle. That's what it really boils down to. With this ship, one of the things you need to remember is you never want to be the tip of the spear, because one of the, I don't know if I call it a weakness or not, one of the low sides of this ship is that her armor isn't all that good. So if you're sailing broadside onto another boat, you can wind up getting really hurt really fast. You want to keep your nose or your stern pointed toward the enemy shooting at you. And you'll see that I make that mistake a couple of times, and it winds up costing me pretty harsh in this game. I'm going to head down to A. There's a couple of islands down there that act as decent cover. Myoko has got 5 gun turrets, each turret with 2 barrels at 305 millimeters with a 14-second reload. That's not the best reload. If you can get that buffed up any with captain skills, do it. You'll be really glad you did. Range is only 15.6 kilometers, which is a little on the low or maybe middle of the road side. So do anything you can to get that buffed up too. But the dispersion is only 131 meters at full range, which is actually pretty good. High explosive shells do 3,300 damage on a good hit with a 17% chance of starting a fire. Armor piercing do 4,700 damage. One thing this ship has got that really does well are the torpedoes. 10-kilometer range torpedoes at 610 millimeters in diameter. That's 2 feet. These really do a lot of damage. So bear those in mind. So there's our first enemy. I've got high explosive loaded. It's a cruiser. Might as well send it going. Our first shot is just meant to get an idea of what kind of lead I need to give the boat. You saw those were a little ahead. So I've made the corrections, and now I'm sending the full salvo down there. You can do full salvo or sequential fire, whichever you prefer. I like sequential because you can draw lines that way. But this guy is only 13 kilometers out. I've got him pretty well ranged. Might as well go salvo. Now I'm broadside to him, but that's okay under the circumstances because they're not shooting at me. There's a lot of people shooting at him. This guy is playing the tip of the spear. And look how fast he's dying. He's not going to last long. He's only got about 20% of his life left. And he's got 2 or 3 ships going after him. And I think this is where he bites the big one. Yeah, nope. That was nice though, 4,400 damage. Okay, he's gone. Now behind him, that's either a Cleveland or an Atlanta. They have really similar silhouettes. So I switched over to armor piercing because these ships, the Atlanta or Cleveland, neither one of them has a whole lot of armor. I'm sorry about the glitch in the playback and the recording quality. I'm still working on that. If you see an Atlanta or a Cleveland, take them out fast, because these guys can unleash an awful lot of shells. They're not big, but he's got a lot of them, and it will definitely light you on fire. So he's slowing down, and that threw my shots off. You can tell by the smoke coming out of his smokestacks. He's come to a stop. That's going to mess off my aim a bit. And now he's backing up. Well, I should be able to land a few shots. Okay, I've come to a full stop and I'm backing up a bit. This island is protecting me, if you look at the mini-map, from most of the enemies. So I can pretty much stay under partial cover and just start plugging away at this guy. Sooner or later I'm going to start doing some more damage. Okay, there's 2 more enemies coming in. One of them's a lot closer. Well, I got a better chance at hitting the one that's a lot closer. So I'm going to switch over to him. Yeah, he's only 12 kilometers. I'm still on armor piercing. You know what? That's too many ships that are looking at me. I'm going forward. I'm going to go forward, get out of their fire, and I'm going to use these torpedoes. Those torpedoes are great. Just be careful that you don't hit a friend, because 10 kilometers is a lot different than 8. You can have a friend sailing in from the opposite direction of the enemy and not notice that you've got a friend coming into torpedo range. So, one salvo away, and then another salvo slightly behind. Now you do that on purpose, because if the captain of the enemy ship sees the first salvo, first thing he's going to do is slam on the brakes and turn into the salvo. And if he does that, the second salvo will get him. Meanwhile, I switch back to guns and keep firing at him. You can see that the spread on my shots, the dispersion is nothing at this range. And got him. Right on, got him. So now I got a moment to breathe, and I can see a battleship out there. I just took a quick shot at him, and then realized, whoa, there's a battleship almost on top of me. Not good. Thank goodness there are 3 ships. If he's got his guns pointed toward me, I'm history. But he doesn't. Okay, so I switched to high explosive. That's the best choice against the battleship. He put it out. He put it out, which means he cannot put out the next fire. Not for a few minutes. But I'm going to try and get him with torpedoes. He's really close. He's less than 4 kilometers now. His secondaries have put me on fire, and I'm letting him have it with both salvos really close together, and then just keep shooting at him with high explosive. He is on fire and he cannot put it out. Not for another minute. But I don't think it's going to matter, because I just hit him with 3 big torpedoes, and he's gone. His secondaries took out one of my torpedo launchers, but I can get that fixed in a minute. Alright, so I got a moment to look around, and there's 3 enemies, and they're doing the right thing. They're staying fairly close to each other. So I am going to turn hard, giving my guns a chance to turn around. And I'm going to take on this guy. I've got a few minutes, and there's another ship that he's shooting at anyway. I might as well then go after him. So I've got high explosive loaded. He's more or less pointed at me, and if they're more or less pointed at you, high explosive is the way to go. He's focusing on the battleship beside me, but any second now he's going to realize that me being a cruiser and a Myoko with mediocre armor, I am the easier target for him to sink. So he's shooting at me now. It sure didn't take him long. But I've got, somebody's lobbing shells over at me. Okay, I've lost 25% of my damage in just a minute, so I've got to turn and get under cover. And fast, or this guy's going to finish me. So I send 2 salvos down range and type a message to the battleship there. Torps to your left. You always want to let people know what you're doing. Otherwise you can do what I did about a month ago and wind up torping a friend, and then you're pink for like 5 battles and you feel terrible about it. So now I'm behind full cover. I'm giving my cooldown on repair a chance to recover. That'll make it easier for me to start repairing the ship. But here is a cruiser. So I fired a couple salvos of high explosive. Maybe I can start another fire. Maybe not, but really, since he's a cruiser, I need to go to AP. And notice that I am broadside onto him. Not a good idea, and I didn't notice that his guns are pointed at me. Sure doesn't look like it, but I'm continuing to fire, and this was my mistake. He's only sent 4 shells at me and splat. 4 shells, and I lost 85% of my health. 4. So, not good. So I got my bow onto him. I can minimize damage if I keep my bow or my stern onto him. I know he's just fired, so it's going to take him a few seconds to reload. I'm going to risk a turn, and I'm going to try sending torpedoes. Oh, good, he missed. Now I sent those quite a ways to the right of where the computer thinks I should aim. I did that anticipating he was going to continue his turn. So I did some damage there. I noticed that every time I turn my rudder, the guns go off target. Anything you can do to speed up the turret rotation of the guns on the Myoko, do it. Because it's frustrating when the boat turns faster than the guns, and you have to deliberately come out of a turn to take out an enemy. So I know it's a risk, but I'm going to send some that direction. I hope it doesn't hit my guy. But he was heading away from me. Alright, that guy's gone. He was heading away from me, and he was at 10 kilometers when I fired. So the torpedoes are not going to reach him unless he turns toward me. So there's 2 enemies and 3 of us. And I'm almost dead. I might as well just try and go after this ship. Hiding won't do any good. Now that's a battleship. So I am, if he starts firing at me, I'm in an awful lot of trouble. A sneeze and I'm gone. I think that's a battleship. On my screen it's really small. And the enemy is ahead. They've got 2 of the 3 capture points. No, that's an Atlanta. That is an Atlanta. Either that or a Cleveland. 1 or 2. Either one, you see one of these guys, dive into them and take them out fast. Because while he doesn't have particularly large guns, he's got a lot of them. And they're pretty decent fire rate. Usually these guys will hang far back and just lob shells, knowing that if you throw enough shells downrange, you're going to hit something. But for some reason, he's decided to come in close. That's going to be his death sentence there. He set me on fire. I put it out immediately. I'm going to try and get torps off. No, can't do it. Go back to guns. And I'm trying to turn away. I am broadside, not good. I'm going to go ahead and fire and shoot. Okay, he killed me. But my shells got him. The shells passed each other in flight. Wow. Quite the battle. The secondaries on this ship are 127 millimeters. You got 4 turrets, each with 2 guns, range 4.7 kilometers. And I did get a couple of secondary hits in. Each one of those shells has a potential of 2,100 damage. 8% chance of putting them on fire. That's actually pretty good for secondaries. Now you're going to see something happen here. We've got a Gneisenau on our team, which is a battleship, and he's going to turn and run from the enemy, and the enemy is a battleship itself, a Bayer. Then the other guy on our team is a cruiser, a Cleveland. A Cleveland charging head first into an enemy battleship geez, this guy's got guts. He really does to be doing that. So I'm going to give him an in-game compliment. You do that by pressing Tab, Control, and then moving your mouse over his name and clicking compliment. When you give somebody an in-game compliment, Last I heard, and I've seen it done, they're given a reward of flags, consumable flags, to give bonuses during the games. That's distinctly different from giving a compliment to a player during the post-battle results screen. That adds to karma. But to give them an in-game compliment, last I heard, I don't know if it's still active or not, they get flags, which they can use to boost all kinds of skills and credits and captain's points, that sort of thing. And now he's gone. So now it's just the Gneisenau, which is turning to take on this Bayern. We do wind up winning this battle. Let's take a look at the after battle screen here. There's some things that are going to interest you. Yeah, we did 111,270 damage. That's pretty good. Target hits. Notice that we got 106, 51 penetration, 13 non, and 33 over. When you start seeing over penetrations or non-penetrations, you might want to consider shifting your fire to high explosive shells instead of armor piercing. That's usually an indicator that you're using the wrong ammo. In general, if the ship is coming nose on or tail away, if they're coming straight at you or straight away, go with high explosive. And if they're broadside, armor piercing is usually the best way to go. You're going to have to practice different battles, different maps, see how the battles unfold, and see how the different ships behave to figure out what kind of ammo you want to use and when you want to use it. So it does take practice, but hey, that's part of the fun. That's part of what this game is all about, is learning how to do that sort of thing. Under team score, we took first place, sunk the most, that's always nice. Dead though. Under detailed report, now under the Koenig, take a look at this right here. We fired 8 high explosive shells for about 6,000 in damage, 9 armor piercing shells for about 2,200 in damage. Obviously, in the Myoko, going up against the Koenig, high explosive shells are the way to go. Let's take a look at the shores. I think that's the way to pronounce it. 6 shells of high explosive doing 4,300 in damage. 9 shells doing about 4,000 in damage. If you crunch out the math, high explosive shells would have been the way to go against the shores when you're in a Myoko. Alright, let's take a look at the Cleveland. Well, the Cleveland you can pretty much throw anything at. Same thing with the Atlanta. Now the Gneisenau, high explosives, 5 shells landed, 2,178 damage. Armor piercing shells, 18 landed, 12,126 damage. If you crunch out the math, against the Gneisenau when you're in a Myoko, AP is usually going to be the way to go. These things take time. Don't get frustrated. Have fun and keep practicing. And you can see what I did against the Myoko and against the Atlanta. You can also see some other numbers which show things like potential damage, defense points, starting time, torpedoes landed, that sort of thing. And under credits and XP, you can see that while I did earn 112,448 silver, lost about half of it to repair, service, and ammunition resupply. The higher up you go, the easier it is to find what you finally get is very small. And when you start getting into 8, 9, and 10 tier, be prepared for that to be a negative number. World of Warships wants people to play all tiers, not just the tier 10, not just the tier 9, but all tiers. So the tier 10s, 9s, and 8s are so expensive at this number right here. starts getting negative real quick. And that's kind of a drag, but oh well, it happens. So that is how to Myoko 2. Have fun, and thank you very much for watching.